we love coming to southern Atlanta. Um, I'm actually a Georgia boy. I was raised over in Cobb County in Mableton, born in Macon. And Janelle and I, we're just a couple that we love each other first. Well, we love the Lord first. And we love each other next, right? And we love serving, and we love the folks around us, and we love the people of Georgia. And Georgia's important to us. So important that we've decided to devote a portion of our lives to public service. As you all know, I guess I should start out by thanking you. In the 22 election, I ran for U.S. Senate. I thought that I was the only one that could defeat Raphael Warnock. And unfortunately, the primary didn't play out in the right way, and we didn't get that seat. So, we got to think about it. We got to think about it. In fact, I'm just going to move into some of my bullet points now. And that is what we care about and what Janelle and I are doing still to this very day, even after our campaign, is we're trying to win elections. And Janelle is serving, I don't want to step on your toes, but she's serving on some boards, and y'all see her in the media quite a bit. And she's trying to push the conservative agenda in our policies, in our platforms, and that sort of thing. Even during the period before Trump won, even when there was a lot of resistance, And now it seems like it's a new day, and it's encouraging, but there's still a lot of work to do. And that's where I'm going to kind of jump in here, and that is, thank you all for being the activists that you are, because we have to do a few things. We've got to continue to win elections. We got to continue to gain the community support. I mean, this is a unique environment right here in Fayette County. I mean, it's very diverse in Fayette County. That means, though, that you've got to be able to adjust your messaging to folks that may not have grown up like you or with you, but they have the same demands, requirements, and needs as you do. So I don't want to get sidetracked, but it's about messaging. And that messaging starts with y'all. Like, I'm coming here to talk to y'all, encourage y'all, because you're the activists. Most Americans don't know as much as y'all know about what's going on with our economy, what's going on with our politics, regulations and such, but y'all do. And thank God for you, but I'm going to put the burden on y'all. That's how we go out and we change minds and communities, through y'all first, and being approachable and not turning folks off, right? That's where I want to message you all and say thank you first. Secondly, we do need to hold our elected officials accountable, but the one thing that I'm concerned about is inconsistency in what they project, particularly when it comes to business. Now, this is more of a business topic because I'm a business guy. Folks who know me, I started my company 13 years ago from scratch in my bedroom. I'm a general contractor. And I've grown my business. Now we're working in Kentucky, Texas, Georgia. We've been blessed. But I fought the EPA. I fought our Secretary of State's office here, just through my business. And that's not fair, that's not right. And when I fought the EPA, I was a little bitty company. I couldn't even afford attorneys to fight them. I did get an attorney, but I didn't use all of his services because he was expensive. But we won that fight against the EPA. And it makes me kind of question what we're hearing in our state today. We hear all this stuff about, we're the number one state to do business, but we're the bottom three states when it comes to regulatory processes and regulatory burdens. So it's incongruent. So I guess my point is, when we hear our politicians make statements, hold them accountable to it. If you say that we're the number one state for business, let's do it across the board. Because real small business owners know that we have problems in this state. And I don't want to lie to the people. And the third thing is that, maybe a little more personal, we've got to win all of the primaries that all of our elected officials are in, or our candidates are in. Well, like Republicans, I'm saying. Not Republican primaries. We got to pick the right Republicans in our primary, excuse me. Right. Sorry about that. Ooh. Because it's not just a primary fight, it's a general election fight. Remember, the folks that we pick in the primary, they've got to be able to win in the general election. So we've got to be able to pick skills, we've got to be able to vet, question, make these people work, make us work hard in the primary. Demand things from us that you wouldn't demand from most people because they're going to be representing you. And they're going to have to make hard decisions for you. And they're going to have to make moral decisions for you. And there's a lot of pressures up there in that gold dome. And I think most of our politicians succumb to that pressure. So in the primary, we need to fight and select and question and debate and vet these candidates. That is our jobs. So thank y'all. That kind of sums up my portion of it. Janelle is coming up next. Thanks, sweetie.
He was so fired up. I was like, he got to go first. We were in the car. We were talking about this in the car, and I was like, so what are you going to say, right? And we decided on the topic. We wanted to talk about maintaining the win, right? How do we maintain what we've just accomplished? Let me bring this down a little bit. I'm not as tall as he is. But how do we maintain what we've accomplished? How do we maintain all the new voters that's come in? And so, and us, in the course of us having that conversation, is very interesting. We're very authentic in how we present. And we discussed this on the way here because we were like, what are we supposed to say? What should we really talk about? God, what do we talk about? And this has been on our heart for a very, very long time because we've got so many new people that have come into the party. We've won in so many ways, but how do we keep them? I want to touch on the election really quick because I know some of you may want to hear a little bit about what's happened with the state election board, and then I'm going to kind of follow up with what we were just talking about. So on the state election board, as of right now, we are in an interesting situation. So my seat is okay. I'm okay. I talked to Speaker Burns. I had a meeting with Speaker Burns, and he assured me that because I was appointed outside of session, I don't have to be voted on in session. So I can sit in that seat until he appoints someone else. And he said to me that I will be in the seat as long as I would like to. So I'm like, okay. Now he asked me not to post it on social media because, we don't want the Democrats to get fired up, but that's his, that's his thing. I don't mind firing them up, but I know I get it though. I mean, I'm always ready to go to war, but not everybody is. But and then the other thing is we talked about our rules. So I know you mentioned, Charlene, what's going on with these 7 rules. And what we talked about was sitting down with the legislators and seeing what can we do with them? What type of laws can they change that will kind of work with our rules? And so Speaker Burns said he is committed to working with us. So we're going to, Dr. Jan and I met with him, and we're going to keep meeting with him and making sure he hears our heart and what we think is best, as well as portraying and or I should say representing the voices of those like Charlene, who's actually on the front lines doing the work. So we have your back. So that's, I feel, and I appreciate you. Thank you for your fight and all that you did, because we couldn't have done it without each other. We were in that battle together, and thank you. So Kelvin's paused when he was talking about accountability, and I want to kind of talk about 2026, because 2026 midterms is going to be a fight to the death. And I'm saying this because Democrats are not happy. They are not going to let this go. Jane Fonda did a speech recently. Have you heard it? Okay, so in her speech, for those who didn't hear it, she basically said that, we need to show grace to those that are across the political aisle. We need to have compassion. They're trying to change their direction so that they can start finding another path of manipulation so that they can bring in new voters or try to get the ones they lost, right? So they're now starting to have these conversations about being more compassionate and opening and listening to Republicans. Same old BS. Come on, guys. All right. So what I know is that they're not going to do what we say. So, I mean, okay. That's right. But I think that at the end of the day, in this quest of holding our elected officials accountable, my message is to hold you accountable as we the people. Because we the people are in a unique position. And to Kelvin's point, whenever we allow primaries to just kind of happen, we don't really participate in it. And I have to state this. Our own governor said that he did not vote in a primary. That is sad to me.
Yeah, that's very telling.
And we have to talk about this. Yeah. And the reason why is because he said the writing was on the wall. And I get that. And I'm not saying that that's not true and that his vote would have changed anything. However, I think it sends a message that it's okay to sit out in primaries if you think the person is that you want is going to win, or if you think that it's a lost cause, kind of like what happened in Kelvin's primary with Herschel. There was a lot of people who didn't do any research, they didn't do anything to find out about any of the other candidates. They just voted for Herschel because he was Herschel.
That's right.
And that was very difficult. So I think we have to be careful with that. We're not spectators, we're the judge. I'm not here to spectate. When I got on that election board, I made sure they understood. I don't come on boards and sit cute. I come to work. And I'm doing this because you've asked me to. It's not like we are privileged to have the opportunity to be appointed to a board where we can make decisions that affect the entire state. We have to take that seriously. And if there's board members who are not, I'm going to call them out every time because we represent the people. Next point, kind of talking about messaging on issues. I think it's important to understand that a lot of our voters that we're going to be communicating with, a lot of the new voters that have come into the party, they are not aware of the platform, the heavy foundation of the Republican Party. Oftentimes, they're aware of our candidate, but not necessarily what we stand for. And if you're going to maintain the voter, they have to be tethered to the foundation, not the candidate. Because if we have voters that are only tethered to candidates, you best believe we're going to see this wave of every now and then we have new voters, then we don't, and then it seems like something's happening. No, we need to create some consistency. So we're all about creating consistency. And we're doing that through having these conversations. We recently brought our Lieutenant Governor, Burt Jones, to Union City. And at that event, we allowed everyone in the audience who registered to submit a question. And we asked them those questions. We got about 50 questions. We try to consolidate as much as possible. Do you know our Lieutenant Governor sat on that stage and answered every single question with no notes, and we did not give him the questions in advance. Every single question. I mean, it was.
A couple gotcha questions in there too.
Oh, it was a couple. I mean, they were asking about reparations. A whole lot of stuff was going on. But it was, he was hanging in there. And I feel like we got to get back to that. When we started having these conversations with Speak Georgia and just doing these events, it was because we want to do real town halls. An authentic town hall is actually letting the town ask the questions. I don't know what these town halls are, where we now have people putting questions in the audience or they've already been pre-submitted. This is crazy. Yeah. So no, we're getting back to the basics. And lastly, before we go to Q&A, having grace, but not their grace. Right. We need to have our grace, and that's God's grace. Amen. We're not walking around with this fake sense of morality where we act as if, loving God is to condone things that are anti-Christ. That's right. That's not what we do. And so I'm sorry if you have a trans child, or I'm sorry if your child can't play in girls' sports. It just can't happen. It's not going to happen. I'm sorry if they're hurt by that, but you need to go deal with the image issues, and you got to go deal with the mental issues that child is having, and stop abusing them by telling them there's someone they're not. And we cannot continue to allow those things that are Christian focused to become a weapon of the enemy. No, and we're taking our rainbow back, by the way. Last thing. Well, I'm getting hot up here. I feel fired up here. Okay, last thing. I want to talk about liberation theology, because this is something we were talking about in the car a little bit, and I really want us to be aware that this is happening in churches. We're not teaching biblical theology. They're teaching liberation theology. And they're telling the congregation that their civil rights and their emotions matter more than their salvation. No one's talking about sin anymore. No one's encouraging anyone to change their lives. No one's encouraging them to be a better person and do it God's way. Instead, they're saying that you are depressed and you are oppressed and you are under the thumb of the white man and all these things. What are you talking about? You can't tell me I can do all things through Christ and then also tell me that I can't overcome the white man. We've got to figure this out. No shade to the white man, but you're not above God. So we got to have real conversations out here, and that's what we're doing. And that's how I believe that we can maintain the vote, by having these authentic conversations, telling it when it's right, telling it when it's wrong, calling it out, holding everyone accountable. I can tell you right now, in the King household, no one is above any reproach. We will hold you accountable. That being said, thank y'all. I know, in love. That being said, we do thank you for letting us talk, but we want to open up for questions, and let's see. Let's go.
Yeah, well, we usually pass the hat. And you have a foundation, don't you?
Yes, we do.
Can you tell us a little bit about
So we have Let's Win for America Action is our organization, and Let's Win for America was founded after Kelvin ran for U.S. Senate. And do you want to talk about the King's campaign?
Yeah, sure. I can say a little bit about it. Right after the primary in May of 22, we stayed in the game. We knew that November was going to be tough, and we wanted to help the party pull through. So we started an organization called Kings for America. Let's Win for America, excuse me. And then we started a campaign called, So trying to play on the whole idea of, a lot of black coaches talk about kings and queens, which I think is bull, but my last name is King, so we might as well do it, right? So we ran that campaign, and it was cool because we got like colleges and university students, we got high school students, we got folks that immigrated legally to talk about the American dream. We had very informal settings. One setting was actually like at a cigar interaction where we just kind of talked about real issues that we talk about in terms of, outside of the public, the personal issues. And we were able to send out 500,000 emails, messages out of that video, and the video was watched over 300,000 times. So to me, that was a huge win for our Republican Party coming out of a failed campaign. But our campaign wasn't a failure to us. That's right. Well, I don't want to go. Okay, all right. I'd never run for office, but I knew I could beat Raphael Warnock. I'm a Georgia boy, business guy. I'm a Air Force veteran. I was a procurement officer in the Air Force. I graduated from the Air Force Academy. And I'm a football player, too. I was an all-conference defensive back in college, right? So I'm running this campaign, and all of a sudden Herschel Walker jumps in it, and I'm like, oh, my goodness. But what we did was we stayed with the campaign. We continued to do what we say we're going to do, and we campaigned in every county in the state, all 159 counties, and we carried our campaign out through May, whatever day in May, and it came out however it came out. But it was a win for the Kings. First, people saw that we were serious. When we say something, we mean it. When we say we're going to work for you, we're going to complete the job. But more than that, I fathered a child when I was 19. Our relationship has been up and down, but it's been great over the last probably 10 years. But my son wasn't saved, and it was bothering us. And he gave his life to the Lord during my campaign. So I say, thank y'all. I say that it was a W for the King family because God works He works in a way differently than what we think, right? And we just are going to be grateful, and we're going to continue to work. And I just wanted to kind of share that. I know that's the whole side conversation, but that was the Kings for America campaign, and we stayed in the game, and I think we helped in the 22 campaign. Yeah, sorry. Okay.
So, yes, next question.
I don't have a question, but I want to remind you, a lot of those who were at Jekyll during the convention,
Yes.
we are your fan club. And so what Janelle just said, you were the best candidate, and we thought so. We're pretty smart. Or let's say the women in this club are very smart. And unfortunately, a lot of them are down at the Capitol today. But know that.
Thank you.
We were there at Jekyll. And I have great respect for you.
Thank you, man.
for both of you.
That's right.
Yes.
Right there, that man right there has a question.
I'm echoing what she said. You mentioned your 22 campaign, all 159 counties. This man visited.
With her too. We visited together.
And I appreciate you being in public service. Have you or will you consider another attempt there also?
Yes. Say yes.
You know, I'm struggling with that. I'm being straight with y'all. This is. I've been struggling with it because my wife has been doing an outstanding job on the board of the SCD, right? But what that allows us to do is we see some huge dysfunction in the Secretary of State's office. And people are asking me, Kelvin, you need to run Secretary of State. You need to run Secretary of State. I'm like, listen, I ran for a federal race. Just give me a minute to figure this thing out, all right? And it's so compelling with my wife fighting. Like, I'm not gonna let her fight without me stepping up and taking over and making sure that the ball goes over the goal line.
And pardon me? Supporting your wife.
Yeah, you're damn right. And that state agency has problems. I mean, like I said, I've had to deal with that state agency. So I don't know yet. I tell you what, I'm looking at Secretary of State. Let's just say that. I don't know yet.
Well, if you hear a voice in the night that tells you to run, you will know it's God answering our prayers.
I know. We are like, woo. I keep telling everybody I'm waiting for him to come off the mountain, and tell me what we're going to do. But he's like just waiting on God.
Hi. Big fan of you. I've heard you on the board of election. You did a great job, especially putting the chairman in his place.
I don't want to have to do it, but.
So, for your husband, I had no idea you ran in 2022. Because Herschel Walker became very popular. He was endorsed by Trump. I'll be completely honest with everyone. Please don't hate me. I wasn't really a fan because his website. I like to read information, and it wasn't a lot of information. Whoever did it, to be completely honest, did not do a good job. And I believe because he wasn't transparent enough to say what he was going to do, that's why he lost, in my opinion. So I hope maybe if God leads you to run again, great. If not, hopefully we'll find someone just as good as you two with solid foundation to run as a senator. I just want to put it out there. As someone in her 30s, and a lot of people in my group, we were hesitant because we were like, well, there's really not a lot of information on his website. So you pay attention to that. I just want to throw that out there. I hope you do run.
Thank you, man.
Whatever God leads you to.
Yes, ma'am.
We heard that amongst younger people. It was mostly younger people who said they could not vote for Herschel because they were doing this work. And the thing about it is, and when our younger, like millennial, I'm a millennial as well. I'm on the older end, but I'm still a millennial. I'm hanging in there. No, I'm kidding. I'm a Zennial, actually. I'm 1 year off from being a Gen Xer. But anyway, but what I noticed is that with millennials and younger people, we don't have this connection to endorsements as much as the older generation. That's more of a older school politics type of strategy. For us, we care about authenticity and we want to feel it. We want to sense that you're being who you say you are. And that is why I think you're seeing so many young people fluctuating in politics, right? It's like, I think it's like one moment I'm here, but then you're upsetting me because you're not being honest. It's like I'm clearly telling me this is right and I know it's wrong, but you want me to agree with it simply because the party's aligned. This new generation, we're not doing that. It's a new group of voters. We want to hold everybody accountable, including our own party. And if you're not doing that, and if you're telling us to just go along with it because it's what they're doing, you're going to lose voters.
That's right.
I heard you mention platform and policy over personality. Can you drill down on that? Because we feel that
as a strong goal here in Fayette County in our roundtable discussions to educate people why you need to be Republican, because I think, like you're saying, a lot of Democrats' core foundation aligns with the Republican Party, but there's very no education about what the platform truly is.
Right. No, that's a great question. I also think that we, and if you know, I want you to step in too, but I also think that we, as Republicans, we're solution focused. So we come up with the best, the best idea, the best way to get to a solution. And it's not always comfortable, as we can see. The shakeup can get really crazy, but we are like a bull in a china shop to a certain degree as Republicans. That being said, we lose people when we can't adequately explain what we're doing. And that's what I mean by connecting people to the foundation, having a message that aligns with why we're doing this. When Elon started, when Doge started and all that stuff, I feel like Elon, and not necessarily Elon, but the president, should have probably done a press conference to explain to people that our Social Security is running out. And it's funny because we watched a video, a Great Courses video, about America and the history of America, and it was an old video, and in the video they said by 2035, we're looking at depleted funds. That's 10 years from now. That's gonna go by, that's two terms. So he has to do what he's doing. It has to happen. And unfortunately, just like in your personal budget, and this is how we try to explain to people, if you don't budget appropriately, when it's time to pay the piper, and you start robbing from here and pulling from here, sometimes you're gonna have to pawn a little bit and cut this out and take this. I mean, it's gonna look real ugly trying to get that paid. So we have to communicate that and tell them that we are about personal liberties. We are about you being able to take care of your family unrestrained. You want to add to that?
And yeah, I wanted to add a little bit. And being able to speak authentically about that particular topic. For instance, abortion is really a topic that most Republicans say, hey, that's taboo. But I mean, we lean to life. Like the conservative party, that's something that we do, and we're okay with it. We lean towards life. So when I talk about abortion with a wide range of folks, I can speak confidently about my position and the conservative position because I can explain some things about my life, right? My mom was 15 when she had me, in 74, the year after Roe v. Wade. Clearly, that was a big decision. Thank you, right? Woo. And obviously it was unplanned, but they tried to marry. I mean, not tried. They married and they tried to stay together. They ended up divorcing, domestic violence, drug use, all this kind of stuff. My dad left and it was just bad. But my life turned out okay. Like that, I know I believe in life. Like I know it. I mean, yeah, the Bible says it, but I lived it. I can explain to people, even if you don't feel like I feel, like you will respect why I have my position. Yeah. And I made that decision with my son in college when. I don't want to get into details, but anyway, he's here too, right. All right? So I believe in life for that reason, because I have proof that it's real and God's word is faithful. God is faithful, right? So being able to explain it like that is a little bit different than saying, hey, I don't know about these abortions. Oh, I have signed checks that I sent to the mother, and it ain't me. My wife called to try to keep her from talking to the people. Like, no, that's not what we do, y'all. No. And it's okay to be transparent, and it's okay to be authentic, because we're just people.
Right.
Trump is just a person. Right. He's just a person, just like you. Yeah. We're all just people, and we all fall short of the glory.
Yeah, I just want to say something. I go back to the turning point guy. We don't need to become complacent because Trump has been elected.
That's right.
Municipal elections coming up. Non-partisan, really. Municipal elections coming up, and every election has consequences. So don't overlook 2025. 2026 is important, but don't overlook 2025. We got to start working right now. That's why we're doing what we're doing with our precincts. We've got to get the vote out in 2025.
That's a great point. Thank you. That's a great point. I think Sandy Springs is the entire city council or something. It's kind of, I know our mayor is up, but yes, municipal. And you know what? That's why we were passing these rules. Because particularly your rule, counting the ballot at the end of the night in the precincts for in-person counting, that rule affects local races more than anything else. Because when it comes down to 5 and 10 votes, like in College Park, I saw a council member lose by 12 votes. 12. So it gets really dicey, right, when you start talking about those little ballots. So yes, you're absolutely right.
Okay, this is my first time here.
Oh, wow. I hope we didn't scare you.
And I came out of desperation.
Oh,
okay. I basically have voted Republican for about 30 years. It had to do more with the life of the unborn child. Wow. So, at this particular stage of my life, I cannot support the Democratic platform. My father forgave me a long time ago for that. I can't do it. I understand that there are things that have to be done in order to make this country more fiscally accountable.
Right. Mm-hmm.
But your messaging has to be done in a way that people understand why certain things are occurring. That it has nothing to do with a thirst for power or whatever else, but things ought to be done in decency and in order. Yeah. You get a better response when you have an informed public. Yes. Yeah. And quite frankly, Trump is about the first president I've heard mention a balanced budget
Yes.
in at least 30 years.
Yes, that's right.
So nothing there. But I think that if you're talking about attracting new voters, that something has to be done in order to more clearly articulate the direction of this country. As a federal employee many years ago who got caught up in a reduction of force, that's the way it should be done. It should not have been done with Elon Musk coming in, firing people unexpectedly. These people have families. They have feelings. And I think what's been done there is that perhaps for several generations, this country may not be able to attract people who actually want to work for the federal service. And so you have certain repercussions based upon how you have done things. How you treat a head of a state is important. Correct. You may not like Zelensky, you may not like that Kamala Harris had him do something, but you do not kick him out of the White House. It's not your house, it's the people's house. And you do not humiliate and embarrass him in front of reporters. Decency and order. And so you can have the best platform in the world, but if your messaging is off, if you're not showing the world that you actually care about its citizens, if you're putting people in office who have no identity with the average person, Elon Musk just had his 14th child. He can afford it. He's the world's richest man. But there are some people who struggle to pay light bills, who struggle to get food. And I don't think that needs to be stepped over. It was a war for me coming out here today. But I had to say this because I don't know what your connections are. But I think that.
Thank you.
Thank you. No, that was
well articulated. Thank you. Because you represent a lot of the electorate, and we're all Americans. And it's funny, we were talking a little bit about this on the way in this morning too. And we were like, the leader of another country that we're trying to get to be an enemy of ours, No, we're trying to get them to beat an enemy of ours. Yeah. So we're trying to get Ukraine to defeat Russia, right? So. Okay, but I'm just telling you from a military strategic mind. Okay, I'm just telling you. I mean, you can. Okay. Anyway, we're trying to use Ukraine to defeat to beat an enemy of ours, and you don't want to minimize the leadership of that leader to their people. Like, Zelensky is still the president of Ukraine, and you've got to make sure that you don't reduce his influence in his own country by our language here. And I was concerned about that too, driving in, personally, because diplomacy is real. And what? Yeah, because diplomacy is real, and we always want to be that shining light on the hill. Like we always want to be the leader, or at least the person that stands a little bit above when it comes to those moral challenges. That's the America that I know. That's America that I fought for, or at least I was trying to give my life for. And I mean, you're right, because I got more emails in the last month from my friends, because I came from government, obviously, about their concerns than I've ever gotten in my whole life. And it's because they didn't know what was happening. The communication was not where it needed to be for something so massive. So I agree with you, but I do like the plans, but the execution and the communication probably could have been improved tremendously.
I just wanted to, really quick, just to your point, very, very quickly. I will say that I do think that there are times when you just got to go to war, right? I mean, with words. However, it can't be frequently. And it has to be these one-offs where it's like, man, I can't believe that happened, Because, again, we are representing our country, and we're also trying to build relationships outside of our country. Okay. Yes.
Oh, then I'm a fool.
No, I was laughing at. I was just laughing at her.
Something that a lot of the media brushed over with the Zelensky thing is Zelensky is sending arms to the cartels in Mexico. Whoa,
that's right.
American arms are going to Ukraine, and then they're going to Mexico. They found millions of dollars of Ukrainian arms that we gave Ukraine in New Mexico and Arizona, and
Well, then that's what needs to be debated. Instead of telling him to say thank you, I think we need to debate those issues.
well, the thing he's missing is World War III.
Yeah, exactly.
World War III will last for 73 minutes, and 2 billion people will die. That's what's at stake with Ukraine and Russia.
Yes.
Zelensky, Parliament is already talking about impeachment after his talk with Trump.
Yeah, I can get into the details of Ukraine if you like. I don't think this is the appropriate setting, but the Ukraine situation is complex. It's a lot more complex than we see. And I wish we'd have made different decisions earlier, honestly, than we are now. Because earlier we could have done some really cool things. We had Russia on the heels through a proxy of Ukraine. Like I said, we can talk in more details about this if you like. I'm really into it.
You'll be staying a little bit after the meeting.
Okay, all right.
Chris has had his hand up more than anybody. Let him ask
Chris
Brown.
As a newly minted member of the Fayette Republicans, your argument about Elon, it's the Doge. Elon was given an opportunity by our president. We can't make it about Elon Musk. Elon Musk is a billionaire. He has children. He's a flawed man. We all fall short of the grace of God.
Yes.
We have to stay on point, and we have to have principle. Just like they said, things are getting, she said 2035. There's no Social Security. The things that were promised to us and the things that we saw our forefathers get, we're not getting. And it has to stop.
Yes.
It's got to stop somewhere, and it has to stop with me.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I think if I gotta eat a little less so that my children can eat, I'll do it all day. We can't make it about Elon Musk.
So let's talk about messaging. And I want to assure you
that I only had one wife and I had 6 children by that one woman. So I'm right there with you. But when we talk about messaging, we need to help people understand we are over 36 trillion in debt. We're past the tipping point. And we got to make massive changes now. We can no longer borrow money to give money away. We can't do that anymore. Those days are gone. It's over. We're already past the tipping point. We got to make massive changes now.
Biden failed federal workers, not President Trump. Biden failed them because he knew this was coming and he put them in this position and forcing this administration to have to make these hard decisions. Can it be done differently? Could it have been done better? Absolutely. I agree with you 1,000%. It could have been rolled out better.
And our last question, Jane Tran.
I'm not a question, I just want to make a statement. One of the problems we have in this country is for 90 years we have not taught history. And nobody has suffered more for it than blacks.
Yes.
Because the progressive movement was very anti-black.
Yes.
The worst president was Woodrow Wilson, and I think frankly the second worst was Lyndon Johnson.
Yes.
You don't even know your own wonderful, proud history because it hasn't been taught.
Yeah.
And that's something you all ought to start getting mad about. You go and look at World War II and different things and the history that you do not know. I flew back from Arizona on an American airplane, and when I got on, I flew for Eastern Airlines starting in 1964, memorable year. I went back to the back of the airplane because, I'm not going to go into that, but I went back and there was a young black 23-year-old, brand new flight attendant back there, nice guy. And I knew that crew was tired the minute I got on the airplane because I know what a tired crew looks like. But I started talking to him, and I said, I don't know how y'all stand it because it's a blackout on the airplane. I said, we used to talk our way down the aisle. And then he asked me some things. I said, well, when I started flying, they didn't have private jobs, so we carried all sorts of famous people. And he said, did you have anybody you liked more than others? And I said, yeah, easy for me. My favorite passenger was General Benjamin O. Davis, Jr. I had him on twice. That man said the smartest thing to me any man's ever said to a woman the second time. But I tell you what, he looked at me and he said, who was he? 23-year-old, just graduated from college in Atlanta, Georgia. And he did not know who Benjamin O. Davis was. And I said, I said, what? And I said, he was the head of the Tuskegee Airmen. And he said, quote, who were they? Oh. Now, when you don't know your own history, that's because they've gotten by with it. Your history is full of perseverance, character, and integrity. The prisons were not filled with young black men in 1900 all the way up to 1970. Lyndon Johnson calls that with that wonderful and glorious great society that removed the father. Your families were terribly strong. You served in World War II and World War I wonderfully. Sorry.
He is a hero. I had a chance to escort him, and when I was in the Air Force before he died, and it was just an amazing opportunity. Amazing man.
I hated that he died of Alzheimer's. I love that man.
And our last question.
Official last.
No, I'm not going to ask. You're not going to be contradicted.
What she was saying about Tuskegee, what he was saying, it has been changed, and you can look it up. No longer is the history of Tuskegee being taught at the Air Force? Mm-hmm. Air Force by the administration. I even read it this morning.
No, it's still.
Well,
it's still being taught.
But that's not what I want to say.
He went to the Air Force again.
Yeah, Kelvin went to the Air Force again.
No, it has been changed. It's no longer taught.
He wasn't.
No, it is.
Right. That part.
Okay.
Correct. But that's Air Force history. It was taught to me.
I know it was taught to me.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's gonna remain.
It depends on the material, but what I was going to speak on, I was down to the Capitol 2 weeks ago. The NAACP, legal women, and I was just, in fact, I'll be down there Tuesday, they're having another Capitol with the legislature. I gave a speech on what you were speaking about, I think it was you.
Yeah.
Brenda, we can't hear you. Can you stand up and face the room?
Yeah.
Thank you.
I gave a speech.
She's got a soft voice anyway.
Of black voters, young voters, not voting. And in fact, they liked it so well that it's gonna be circulated once I put it all back together this weekend. But one of the things is that there's a myth, no, it was Jane,
Yeah.
that is not being taught in school. Civics, American history, all of that I was taught in Cleveland, Ohio.
I'm telling you, he was a 23-year-old graduate that
Right,
did not
yes.
know who they were.
In fact, you couldn't graduate
Huh?
unless you took those classes in Cleveland. Well, I called the Georgia Board of Education, and I went up to Fayette County Education to find out what are the requirements. I had it in my car because I was gonna go to the library so I could finish to send it out. And I found out that it is requirements, but it's the apathy, and it's not, I started off with African American young, but I went also to all races, all demographics. And I asked a couple of teachers here in Fayette, and they said they're just not interested. They have other, I have a whole list, and you spoke about it, about identifying. Don't lie to me, those type of things. I have a whole list of them, that's in my report. So they do teach it, it is a requirement, and I have the paper in my car to prove it, because when I leave, I'm going to the library to finish it, to send it out. But they're not interested in those classes.
Who is they?
The students that are seniors. That
Do students pick the subject matter
That's
that they get to
correct.
choose?
That's correct.
I don't have kids, but I'm just asking that.
But yes, but those are required. I ask them, are they required, or do they, or do they pick?
So the
They're required.
students get to elect which subject.
Not
they-
in that area. There's certain areas they do select.
Okay, that's
But,
all.
but in American history, civics, and all of that.
Thank you, Steve.
Thank you.
All right.
Hey, thank you.
And-
Oh.
And I wanted to present your offer, well, not offering.
I know. It felt like we were at church.
For $255.
Thank you, man.
Thank y'all so much. All of it is going to voter contact. So,
Oh yeah, that's a cool thing to add. Like our organization, like I have a company. We live off my company. So the LWFAA, that money is all that organization. Just so you know.
Thank you.